for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Yeah, man. Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio for the masses. Yeah. Ha-ha, I made it. Let's do this. Today's Tuesday, January 12th. January 12th, 2021. 12 days into the new year. Only 353 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? All right. Yeah, we got one coming up tonight. Gregg Housh is here. Going to be talking about big tech. Big tech and the drama that is taking over the world right now. We're also going to talk about the Parler hack. I'm using air quotes, hack. And look, when it comes to big tech, let me tell you about my world. Let me tell you about the world of Jimmy Church. It's so cool. Anything goes down. It doesn't really matter what it is, right? It doesn't. I have the ability, because I know people, and I can pick up the phone. I can go straight to the source. It doesn't matter what the subject is. It doesn't. I want to talk about cartoons. I call Mike Oming, right? It doesn't matter. I have the ability to do that. And when it comes down to big tech and what is happening right now in our world, there is only one person to call. It's Gregg Housh. I got that dude on speed dial. Speed dial. And when we set up this show, this was before all the drama kicked off. And there was already, some things happening back before January 6th, which was a week ago now. Hard to believe. But there were issues then, and, I wanted Gregg on the show. And then look what happened in the last week. Man, oh, man, oh, man. So we've got Gregg on the show. Oh, and by the way, last week, Gregg goes, "Hey, Church, can I get you on my show?" Right? This is, and we got it. What an honor and a privilege. So he's probably listening right now. Gregg, I can't wait. I can't wait for Gregg to ask me questions. Gregg Housh is with us tonight. Tomorrow night, all the breaking news that went down in the last 24 hours about the Black Vault and John Greenwald, all the media, big and small, around the world picked up on this story. John Greenwald and all of the CIA documents that were released to him from the beginning to this very day. are now all up on the Black Vault, available for you to download for free, I believe. I believe so. And all of that's going down. And we had John Greenwald here with us for tomorrow night. Again, this is, these shows are booked a long time ago. And he was here to talk about some other issues like the freedom of speech, the First Amendment, private companies, his company, Freedom of Information Act, and all of that. So that was the show for tomorrow. And then boom, right? And it was funny because I think it was this morning. It might have been yesterday. At the crack of dawn, I get this text because John gets up at like 4 a.m. I get this text, Church, check this out. I was like, what? And I'm just, I can't even focus. I can't focus. I can't see before 12 noon. And I'm like at 8 a.m. What's John? What? And that's when everything started to break. And good for him. So, and I know his website is slowed down tremendously because when you have every media outlet in the world saying, hey, go to this website and download CIA UFO documents, that it doesn't matter what your server is, it's going to get overwhelmed. And he's been going through that. It'll slow down if you haven't gone over and done it yet because of that. Things will slow down, but he'll be with us tomorrow night, and then we'll heat things back up again. And then Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Now, I realize today is Tuesday. We all know what is going on tomorrow. Today was a relatively mellow day, all things considered. Not really, but considering what this last week has been like, today was just kind of mellow. So I'll talk to you about all of that in just a minute. I've been having some fun today. And there you go. Okay, so lots of stuff to discuss tonight. Gregg Housh will be with us at the bottom of the hour. So many things are on the table right now. And, wow, that's kind of weird. Why is my balance off? Oh, yeah, check that out. Has that been off this whole time? That's interesting. Looks like I got to clean some pots. It's now, wow. Okay, so it's level over there now? What's going on, man? Okay, so now then this goes down like that. Check, check, check. Once in a while, it's weird. That's weird. My balance was off. Now, is my balance back on with you? Left, right, center. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it was off just a little bit, but now that it's right, yeah, I can hear myself in my cans. All right, follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Everybody out there that's left on Twitter, you can follow me if you can hear me. If you still have a Twitter account at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox on Twitter. I want to say hello to everybody out there. The chat room, which is live and open. I'm getting an alarm going off. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Hello to everybody over in the chat rooms and, of course, over on YouTube in the Bunker Cam and, troublemakers out there, Facebook. I know what's going on. Okay? All right. You can also email throughout the show, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. All right. Let's get to the breaking news. Yeah. Breaking news. Parler is still down. Next up, President Trump declares a state of emergency in Washington, D.C. ahead of Biden's inauguration. The emergency declaration comes as authorities voice growing concerns over security for the inauguration that is taking place on January 20th. All right. I saw the iron. Man, they're not playing around. They got the iron up. They got the iron up around the Capitol building and everything else there in Washington, D.C. They're not playing around. Not playing around. More breaking news. Parler is still down. Next up, Deutsche Bank will not do any business in the future with the United States President Donald Trump or his companies. Deutsche Bank is Trump's top biggest lender with about $340 million in loans outstanding for a golf course in Miami and hotels in Washington and Chicago. All are to the Trump organization, the president's umbrella group that is currently overseen by his two sons, and all of this according to Trump disclosures with the United States Office of Government Ethics, dated July 31st last year. The move comes as Signature Bank, where Trump's ethics disclosures show he has a checking and money market accounts, called for him to step down. And the quote from Signature said, "The resignation of the president is in the best interest of our nation and the American people." And that was posted on the bank website. Well, the good news is, though, there's always LendingTree or paydayloans.com. There you go. More breaking news. Parler is still down. Private messaging app Signal held its position from Monday into today as the #1 free app on both the App Store and Google Play. The app garnered about 1.3 million global downloads on the App Store Monday, and all of this according to app data and analytics website Apptopia. Signal is an encrypted messaging app, by the way, meaning that the company cannot access any messages or calls made by users on the app. Encrypted messaging app Telegram also surged to the #2 position among free apps on both Google Play and the App Store today, the Apple Store. All right, more breaking news. Parler is still down. Coming up next, thousands of CIA files about unidentified flying objects are now publicly available for download. The agency claims that the trove of documents contains all its information on the unexplained phenomena through today. That's right. The documents were published on the Black Vault website, which is run by Freedom of Information activist John Greenwald, who will be joining us on the show tomorrow night. The downloadable archive is the result of Greenwald submitting 10,000 Freedom of Information requests over the years and scanning thousands of pages by hand. More than 2.2 million pages have been uploaded to the website. All right. In other breaking news, this just in, Parler is still down. All right, let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to Howard Stern today. 67 years old. Wow. Wow. Rob Zombie today is 56. He's insisting he's younger than me. Kirstie Alley today is 70. Yeah. And I'll top that. Rush Limbaugh today is also 70. Wow. Our dead guy's birthday today is the one and only moment of silence, please, for George Duke. 1946 to 2013, died at the age of 67. George, of course, was a keyboardist first. We all know that. Pianist. But he was also a great composer, singer, songwriter, and record producer. He first made a name for himself with the album The Jean-Luc Ponty Experience with the George Duke Trio, an album that I used to own once upon a time. Great album. He was known primarily for his 30-odd or so solo albums, of which A Brazilian Love Affair from 1979 was his most popular, as well, of course, as for his insanely amazing collaborations with Frank Zappa. He died on August 5th, 2013, right here in Los Angeles at the age of 67 from cancer. Happy birthday, George Duke. On this day in history, OTD. 1838 to be exact. After his Mormon bank fails in the Panic of 1837, Joseph Smith flees Kirtland, Ohio to avoid arrest and heads for Missouri to rebuild his religious community. That's right. Fate or fact. There's this bar. The bar is called Patrick's Pub and Grill. Patrick's Pub and Grill is located on the border of Georgia and Tennessee. It is split between the two states. The Georgia half is in a dry county, meaning that any alcohol purchased at the bar on the Tennessee side cannot be brought to the Georgia side where the restrooms are. And that's your favorite fact. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, Jimmy, wait a minute here. Why don't they just build restrooms? Right? Why don't they build them on the Tennessee side? That's where the booze is. How can you have a bar serving beer, chilled vodka, and no restrooms? Go figure it out. All right. Tonight, Gregg Housh is here. We're going to be talking about this big tech drama, and the list is long with all the big tech companies that are in on it today. We're going to be talking about all of that. And tomorrow night, John Greenwald joins us right on the heels of all this breaking news with him and the CIA's UFO files. And a bunch of other stuff that we're going to be talking about tomorrow night. John Greenwald will be here. Then, of course, Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Now, right now, I need it. I need it. What a day. What a day. I want to tell you about my day right now as I hit this River Moon coffee. Kirstie Alley, thank you for that, Karen. 70 years old, right? Crazy. Indy Susan just tweeted. She says, hey, Jimmy. This is a minute ago, and she's staying on top of her game. She says, hey, Jimmy, does anyone know if Parler is still down? She's asking for a friend. Yeah, Parler. Breaking news. Parler is still down. All right. Well, as I said before, River Moon Coffee, rivermoonwellness.com. All right. You know what to do. Click on those links over at jimmychurchradio.com. I just mentioned, that today day was relatively normal for the country. It was. And as crazy as today was, after everything that we have been through, today was smooth sailing. We lasted through the day, and I'm here live on the air. So we've made it this far. Things are good. All right. I spent most of the day doing something I haven't done in a very long time. I was basically trolling everyone on social media. Yeah. It was great, too. Trying to start some fires, man. And so I could spend the rest of my day blocking people. I did it. I did it for sport today. I did. I don't even know what the final tally was. But it was a lot of fun. It's friggin' awesome. Twitter, for sure, has done a lot of the work for me. It would take me days and days of finding and blocking troll bot Q accounts. And to be honest, what is left of my followers at the moment are those who truly want to be a part of this community and the show. Right? Twitter's timing, right? Twitter's timing with their cleansing and this campaign of theirs is suspect. For sure. I get it. They should have done this a long time ago before it got out of hand. But it's done, and they are certainly within their right to do whatever they want. Facebook is another matter altogether. Because my Facebook page, my personal page, is my own. And it was originally set up to get connected with friends or family. People from Panama, Indianapolis, different companies that I've worked for over the years. Who, as we all know, right? We just lose track or have lost track of friends and people that we knew over the years. And at the beginning of Facebook, it was cool, man, going in and finding this and going down and finding friends in the company and people and clicking and classmates and things. And it's like, whoa, man, it was awesome. So I can go back, my friends list today, it's whatever, 5,000 people, but go back because they're all there chronologically, right? And you go back to and there, and I can see who I found on Facebook back in 2008, right? Okay, well, that's Facebook. Those are people that I've reached out to, that I know, right? And people that have reached out to me that knew me, and it was just like an old long-lost friend. Man, how you doing? That was Facebook. That's my page. That's totally different than Twitter. After starting up the radio thing back in 2010 or so, I started to get friend requests from people who I've never actually met in person. But I let them into my world because they were reaching out, and this was an innocent time, 2010. It was all cool. But in Facebook, if someone, different from Twitter, in Facebook, if someone posts, suggests jokes, or get offensive, and I don't actually know this person, met them in real life, just block them. It's what I do. I don't even care. Now, take note of this. If we have never met, but are friends on Facebook, playing bounds, man. Playing bounds at all times. The guy just got zero patience for it. I don't care. I don't want it in my feed. I don't want to see it. It ain't going to be there. Block, done. Never have to see or hear from this person ever again. I've never met him in person. So what do I care? Right? Now, here is the real truth. If we are old friends from back in the day, right, or we have met in person and we know each other, well, I'll let the bad stuff fly, right? Or things that I don't agree with, because that's how it should be in real life too, right? That's the way it is. Friends are friends. Family is family, and we are never going to agree on anything, and it's rare when it happens. It's just a part of life. But if we've never met and you step out of line, block. I don't care. I don't care. Twitter is the exact opposite. People can follow you whether you like it or not. And they can say whatever they want as well. You do not approve your followers. No, it's the exact opposite of Facebook. Therefore, you don't have any idea who your followers are or what they're like or where they live. You don't know anything. In fact, if you haven't met them in person, you know nothing. So yeah, I get it. Twitter says that they've removed accounts for whatever reason. And this time around, it was all QAnon. Well, whatever. See ya. Goodbye. Don't care. Don't care. They did the work for me. And the other side of the coin is just as simple. If anyone closed their account for whatever reason, whatever. It just doesn't matter. I don't care. I don't care. I don't know you. I'll never know if things were done in protest, if they were bot accounts, or if someone violated the terms of service. Whatever. I don't care. I don't care. What I do know is that whatever is left on my Twitter account is the good stuff. Those who truly want to follow Faded Black, hang out with the Fadernauts and be a part of this family. A family where we can disagree or agree. We can talk, we can laugh, we can learn, and we can enjoy life. You may not like what I say. You may not agree with me all of the time. We all know that I'm the king of flip-flopping. I change my mind all day long. I'm always expanding my brain and learning. And that's the best part of life. So welcome to my paradoxical, my hypocritical world. It's called Fade to Black for a reason. And if you don't like it, let me know. I've always got the block button. I've got a special mouse right here that is on top of the block button all the time. I can just hit it. Boom, done, gone. Right? It's right there. It's got its very own mouse. Unless, of course, we are friends in the real world. And then I'll just troll you for the rest of your life. Tempt me. Quote me. Dare me. It's 2021. Who's next? Now, for those of you who like to shout about the First Amendment and who have probably never read these words before or heard them, here it is. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise of thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. That's it. Full stop. End quote. That's it. That is the entirety of the Constitution's First Amendment. That's the whole thing. It is the central tenet of our American way of life that gets dragged out every time someone's banned from Twitter or gets a website taken down by a service provider. This is one of the biggest misconceptions people have about the First Amendment. The bottom line, it protects you from the government punishing or censoring or oppressing your speech. It doesn't apply to private organizations like Twitter or Facebook. That's it. Nothing more. Case closed. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Gregg Housh is here. We're going to be talking about all of that, the big tech drama that is taking over the world right now. That's right. Gregg Housh is here. We're going to set the record straight. We're also going to talk about that Parler, air quotes, hack. Tomorrow night, right here, John Greenwald, we're going to be talking about, again, free speech, the First Amendment, and, of course, private companies and the right to do what he is doing. Freedom of Information Act, posting documents right there for you. All of that and much more tomorrow night. Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Follow me on Twitter. If there's anybody left on Twitter, follow me at JChurchRadio. You can also follow Gregg Housh. That's Greg with 2 G's. We've got it up there on Twitter. And he's got that fancy little verified blue check mark, so you know it's Greg, just in case. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back with our guest, Gregg Housh, right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is the only way forward. This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years, and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Fade or not, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What an amazing week here on Fade to Black for sure. And throughout this crazy week, month, and year, it has been for the United States and the rest of the world. And tomorrow night, continuing this, will be John Greenwald of the Black Vault and his document dump that was all over all the major media outlets today. He has released everything from the CIA, and it is all there for you to download. You can go to theblackvault.com. We've got the links up there in our Twitter feed. Tonight is Gregg Housh. Gregg Housh, and we are going to discuss the big tech companies that are banning the current POTUS and the future of Parler. Now, Gregg spent much of his teens and early 20s evading the FBI task force. I love it every time I say this. While helping to operate the internet's foremost software pirating rings and otherwise living a life of a criminal hacker. In 2000, though, it all caught up to him. He was arrested. The next 7 years were spent in and out of court until he pled guilty to conspiracy to violate copyright laws in 2007. He was incarcerated, federal pen, including a 27-day stay in solitary. That's right. Upon release, he worked a series of computer-related jobs while continuing to participate in various online subcultures. And soon after, his key role in anonymous global protest campaign against the Church of Scientology was made public in 2008. He began serving as a media interpreter and interview subject for newspapers, websites, radio, and television. He has appeared on countless news programs and quoted in publications. You know, just today, or it was yesterday, I was reading a major article out there, and there's Gregg. He's quoted in there. I talked to him about that today. We'll get to that when we bring him on in just a second. And meanwhile, he has continued to work with anonymous participants on various operations, offering advice and other forms of support when needed. His website, of course, is gregghoush.com. He's now a major media celebrity and show host. I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Gregg Housh. Gregg, how are you, man?
Doing okay. How about you?
I am fantastic. And this is the thing, Gregg. I can see you. Our audience can't. And you got the full-on hacker gear on.
You know, there's a comfortable way to be sitting at a desk all day.
Man, I remember you and I, we're going to move forward. We've got way too much to talk about tonight. But when you and I were in New York for the Hackers on Planet Earth conference, And I went into a seminar in the big room there. The lights were down. It was dark. And I'm not going to say specifically what the presenter, but he was giving instructions on how to do a specific type of hack, right? He was giving the code out. And I was watching the audience. They're all taking notes, right? But everybody was dressed like you are right now, right? Everybody had the hoodie on. Everybody was down and hunched over, hiding their faces. And I think you might have been with me during that moment when we were leaning against the wall, right, on the left side of the room. That was one of the most intense. I took it all in, man. I could not believe how studious hackers are. They were paying attention, man. It was that was an intense thing. That was an eye-opening experience, the Hope Conference. Okay. 1 week in the United States, from January 5th until today. Did you ever anticipate anything like this to go down? Did you see the writing on the wall?
Yes and no. I mean, I know that's a no answer, but like, we assumed if all of the alt-right Proud Boy style efforts weren't stopped and they weren't actually designated a domestic terrorist group and all the other things that we've been screaming for years, that we would end up here. We just had hoped that those actions would be taken and they would be stopped before we got here.
Now,
and of course, QAnon and all the other fun things related to all of this.
Yes. And we have to watch how many times we say that during the show. You know, we'll get scrubbed by YouTube, and the next thing you know, they're going to think that we're part of that group. And that is another part of something that I want to talk about tonight, which is how even I have to self-censor now, because I don't know what automation is running, and they don't go and listen to the show. And the next thing you know, I get myself in trouble when I could be talking about the exact opposite. And this has happened to a lot of innocent people out there today that have had accounts taken down and removed when they didn't say anything at all, right? And it's a dangerous zone that we find ourselves in, isn't it?
I mean, you know, for the people who didn't do anything, a lot of them are getting their accounts back. Like the QAnon Anonymous account, that's the actual like full way you spell it out. On Twitter was nuked in the big, purge. But they're actually an anti-QAnon podcast who work to discredit all of the lies. And so, like, they shouldn't have been.
Right.
They had their account back like 6 hours later and, an apology. The people who kind of, didn't are, I think, being dealt with fairly.
Yeah.
They're getting their stuff back. There's accidents. They had to kill 70,000 accounts. That's hard to do.
Yeah, that is. And they saved me a lot of time, too. I don't know about you, but I lost 5,000 followers in the last 48 hours. And
I was surprised how many of those QAnon people were following me. I only lost, I think, like maybe 2,500 or so, but I was very rude to them pretty much nonstop. So they didn't stick around with me too much.
Yeah, I never talked about them at all. I think I did one QAnon show in the last, 2-3 years. Other than that, it's really not my wheelhouse, if you will. And, because the show deals with conspiracies and everything else, I guess that's why they were following me en masse. Yeah. It was crazy. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, what is going on? And at first, I looked at it as, well, there's this and there's this reason and this, and maybe people just don't like me, and that's what's going on. And then I thought, man, there's something else going on. It's too much. It's 300, 400, 500 an hour. Right?
Yeah, you've got the what did I say? And then you start noticing, am I getting canceled?
Welcome to the day that we live in. Well, I want to start with Parler. Now, last year, I had done, maybe you read it, you're a busy guy, but I had wrote an article back in November of 2020 about Parler, its origins, the ties going all the way back to Cambridge Analytica. Before that, I went back to 2012 2013 with all of this, and how it advanced through to where we are today. And obviously, Parler was still up and running back then. But I said to everybody, if you were outraged about Cambridge Analytica and you were outraged about data and mining and what went down with Congress and Zuckerberg getting grilled by the United States government about all of these issues and Cambridge Analytica and the outrage that was there, then how do you feel today about Parler? And I outlined everything for them there. And I never felt right about it, but nonetheless, I threw it out there just so there could be a certain level of public awareness. Because in the future, could I say I told you so? I don't want to go there, but wow, right? Now, not only are they gone, but their data is now on hundreds of hard drives around the world.
I mean, it's a lot of data. We're talking terabytes and terabytes of data. So only a few people have full copies yet.
77, some are saying 70 terabytes. I think that's the latest tally.
Yeah, it's 70 terabytes with the 1.1 million video files.
Yeah, with GPS locations and longitude and latitude. We'll get to all of that in a second.
Absolutely.
Now, it was in the media as a hack. I'm doing air quotes for the camera. And when I talked about this yesterday, I did it as deep as I could. And that's when I started to see your name quoted in the media about this. And you were already booked for the show, too. That's the crazy part. You just never know. What timing? Yeah, what timing. But, when you and I were talking last week, this hadn't happened yet. Oh, so anyway, let's move forward. It was presented in the media as a hack. As I started to get into this, and I said this yesterday to everybody, hack is the wrong word. Am I out of line in saying it that way?
No, it wasn't a hack. What's funny is you said, when we talked a week ago, this hadn't happened yet, but
it was in the motions. Yes.
By a week ago, I already had 4.4 million Parler profiles backed up locally here on my hard drives, and was going for the rest of them with my scripts. So,
now, can you legally?
It had happened, just not publicly.
Can you legally say this on the air?
Yeah, because the way the CFAA works is you have to actually bypass authentication to trigger it first, and I bypassed nothing. In fact, I used open API endpoints that anyone can access with no password, no username, no encryption, no nothing to start downloading all of this. They architected their entire system completely wide open, and then on the most data-intensive, data mining, we steal every bit of telemetry platform you can on AWS. Every time you sneezed while you were on Parler, AWS probably knew about it and logged it and then attached it to your Prime account.
Now, for everybody out there, AWS is Amazon Web Services. Okay, so we'll be talking about AWS a lot tonight. Okay, so
let's a hack. I can explain to people, and I'll try and keep it as simple as possible, but it's a little complicated.
It is.
When you're talking about a hack, what you're normally talking about is you somehow bypassed your way into a place you weren't supposed to be, and that bypass is critical for the various laws that are used against hackers, like the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. One of the major triggers is the thing that you're accessing has to have been inaccessible to the general public, undocumented to the general public, and or behind a username and password that you weren't supposed to have. So, there's a lot of pieces to it, but those are the basics, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way Parler built their website is a slightly modern way, but it's the 7-year-old version of that slightly modern way. And so they built out on a piece of software called Angular. And what Angular does is, instead of building the website that you're going to see when you load up Parler.com on their end and then sending it to you, they send you a bunch of code, and your web browser asks Parler.com for the logo and then asks it a second time for your username. And so it makes all these little requests as it's loading the page, instead of their end generating and sending you something more static, right?
Right.
And so all those little pieces of code that were asking Parler.com for things like your username, like your graphic, like your bio, like your latest parlays, their version of tweets, were wide open to anyone who was logged in. So if you just looked at the code that was loaded in your web browser, which of course has to be on your computer so your web browser can run it, you could see the endpoints that it was accessing and then access them yourself, and then just change the user ID to someone else's user ID and download their photo, which was fine because you're supposed to be able to do that when you view their profile, right? So you can see it, right?
Right.
But every ID on this system is sequential. So once you could find a really, really old one, you could just start counting up. Just add one to the end and keep grabbing all of the photos, then all of their bios, then all of their videos. And so people started doing that, which is horrible. There was no rate limiting blocking them. The only rate limiting that was found by the people looking at this was they had rate limited how many people you could follow and unfollow during the day. But you could grab the list of users that say your user account followed. I could grab that for 4 million people in one day and their server would keep responding. No rate limiting of any kind. So you could just download all of their data with no passwords, no usernames, no logging in. And then someone got creative and they loaded up the Parler app on their phone. And since it was on their local network connected to their wireless, they could see the traffic going between the app and the outside world, which would get to Parler.com. And they saw that it was accessing a couple different endpoints. And they were slightly different than the ones that your normal web browser would access. So far, still pretty simple, right? The app just has a different way to grab that data. But here's where it got tricky. Because with the web ones that are just showing like the list of parlays, like the list of tweets, it's got to show you the processed video, meaning the stuff that's been compiled down, shrunk, all the data's been stripped, like the metadata, like the location data, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or on the photos, like, your location data and the name of your camera and stuff like that is attached to every photo.
Right.
All of that gets stripped on the one that you see in the normal web interface. But the app was showing us a thing that we could access that would, instead of giving us the stripped version, it would give us the original version that the user had uploaded, which they still had stored for some reason. And it would just download it again with no username, no password, no authentication of any kind. And again, the IDs were sequential. So start from one and go up until you hit the first one and just keep going. And you download 1.1 million videos that have all of the metadata still. No hacking was involved. It was literally just writing little code loops that would add one to the end of a URL and then download and then add one and then download. I mean, you could have done it in the web browser typing if you had the time to type a million times.
It sounds almost, it's like Monty Python meets Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is almost comical. And
so, okay, I'm in this weird spot. Everyone knows I'm a lefty, right? I mean, everyone knows this about me. It's not hidden. I'm very out lefty. But at the same time, I was actually on Parler. They verified me. They asked me to come over and join. I was going to go on John Matzey's podcast next week, but now he's a little busy. So we'll see how that goes. He might also be mad at some of my friends, so maybe we don't go on. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm a far lefty. But here I am. I'm going to say something to the users that most of my lefty friends won't admit to. Remember back, for any of you who are old enough to remember back, and I know it's not that long ago, but you might have some 20-year-old who was 8 when this happened. Remember back to Twitter. Twitter came out of nowhere at South by Southwest in 07 and 08, and it just exploded on the scene. And for the next 5 years, all the way up into like late 2013, what did me and you see, Jimmy, every day? Do you remember the fail whale?
Yes.
Do you remember the fail whale?
Mm-hmm.
Every user of Twitter in the first 5 years of its existence saw the fail whale because they had built out on a technology that really didn't scale well. Now, they didn't realize this kind of user growth was coming. So they did the work. And, by the end of 2013, beginning of 2014, the fail whale kind of disappeared.
That's right.
I haven't seen it in, 8 years, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
So when you look at Parler, like its first real public heavy use started in early to mid 2018. That's only 2 years. Now, you can argue that it takes a while to get this kind of scale right, but you can also argue that Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and even back to MySpace and Twitter, of course, have all done it. And what's been cool about them doing it, not people like Zuckerberg, who I am not a fan of, but what's been cool about them doing it is those companies have allowed their engineers to write books about how you scale. They have released open source tool chains that allow you to scale. So if Parler had just used what we now call in the programming world the patterns that we know scale well, then they wouldn't have had these problems, because these are now solved things. And they had the Mercers backing them, so the budget was quite large.
They could have hired the team, a team of correct coders and team leaders to facilitate all of this with the right knowledge on how to scale. It blows my mind that these weaknesses and the simple side of Parler was allowed to continue to exist, including the Okta interface to verify and create user accounts.
Okta and Twilio were funny when they both were pulled that night. The way Parler verifies everything went to default true, meaning when I tried to log in as you and it wanted the two-factor verification that I was you, that it would text to your phone, and the service provider that Parler used to provide that text messaging failed them because it had been turned off. Parler just said, failure, I'm going to let you in. I'm going to assume true. That is the wrong way to fail there. You assume false there, and you throw up an error, and then you also have it automatically send an email over to your engineers saying, holy crap, guys. You don't just fail true and let people in. I mean, I watched people log in as all kinds of random users because the fail true.
Now, and we're going to be headed into a break here. In my deep dive yesterday in researching all of this, one of the comments that I read over and over again was that it wasn't at all a hack, that there were open doors on the back end, on the front end. All you had to do was have the time to go and open one. There were
tools on GitHub.com that you could literally download. One of them is called Parlance that just connected up to the API like it was the web front end. You just go download it still. Just if you want to look at it, it's just Python code that would connect up and do mass things on their API just like the front end would. And that's totally legit legal code. There's nothing wrong with it.
Now, when you have 70 terabytes of data, which some are saying, you would know this, but it is nearly in totality everything Parler. It's everything that was deleted. It was private messaging. It was anything else that they consider private, any communication, anything at all. Everything in its entirety now has been copied.
So most of that is what came out through the Reddit thread where someone was claiming to have more knowledge, and most of that is halfway true. So what is had is all of the videos in their original form that were ever uploaded to it, meaning whatever metadata was on that video before you uploaded it is saved. So, latitude, longitude for a location, name, if you used, Final Cut Pro or iMovie or Windows Movie Maker, it'll put your name in the metadata of the video, whatever username you were signed into your computer with when you made the video. And so all of that is on those video files. So there's 1.1 million files. The next thing, every parlay that was sent. So these are the public, you posted this. You might have deleted it, but nothing's deleted in their database. It's just marked as deleted with a little flag. You can still download it if you just hit the API for it. The API didn't stop you from downloading what we call soft deleted messages. And so no private messages are in that data set. None of the photo IDs that people uploaded to verify are in this data set that was downloadable. The passwords were not in this data set. It's literally anything you posted publicly, even if you deleted it, And the more problematic is it's not the thing that ended up showing up publicly, but it's your original uploaded file, which has metadata.
What's going to happen with, and we'll talk about this more after the break in depth, because Okta, you needed to have access to their servers for the database to run correctly when creating new user accounts and verifying their data. If Okta now is not in play, do they still have access to the original database of users, and can it work correctly, or does that have to be built from the ground up once again?
So they still have the users in their database. They have your usernames, they have your email addresses, they have all of that. Like even the people who downloaded the data they downloaded don't have the email addresses. Like none of that was in that data set that was grabbed. It was literally whatever if you had sent out a parlay with your email in it, then sure. But any of your private profile data that was just shared for communication with Parler only isn't in the data set that was downloaded. Because again, there was no hack. It was literally whatever could be accessed publicly. So what I'm assuming they're going to do, being that they lost Okta and they lost Twilio, when they get this back up, I think they're going to probably force everyone to do a reset password with whatever email was on your account. Something along those lines. We've seen other services come back from hacks and just force everyone to change their password, and then you get back in.
But you would have to have another verification service like Okta built back into the front end. And so what do you do with millions of users? Is it some kind of Excel spreadsheet file?
Do you?
I don't know. I'm asking you. I mean, how do you do that?
Twitter doesn't do anything like Okta.
Yeah, interesting. And
I still don't know why Parler wants my they don't want mine because since they invited me, they didn't need my license to verify me. And I got a Zoom call from them and we got to talk and they were like, "Oh, it's you." So they didn't get any of my ID. So even if it had been downloaded, I wouldn't have been in there because they are very classist. And as long as you have a small following somewhere else, it doesn't matter, large, whatever, they will let you bypass all of their authentication methods, all of their verification, give you all the badges.
And I've got 15 seconds left. So the reports, of which there are many out there from different media sources, that the driver's licenses and those images have been accessed. You're saying that they have not.
When you talk about the 70 terabyte data set from the people who are archiving all of that, they do not have any of that. That's not to say that there isn't some, hacker out there somewhere in the world who did get into that.
Right.
But we don't know of any of that. I've actually found where the person who did the original download of the 70 terabytes is, and I've talked to them over the last couple of days, and none of that data is in there. However, someone else might have that, and so I'm not going to say it's not out there. I just know it wasn't easily accessible by anyone that I saw from anything public, and they were doing their best not to infect their data with things that might have been problematic to download.
Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, the one and only Gregg Housh, talking about big data, big tech, big drama. It's all going down right now. More with Gregg when we come back after this short break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. You can follow me on Twitter, if there's anybody left on Twitter, at JChurchRadio. You can follow Gregg Housh. That's Greg with 2 G's. We've got it up on our Twitter feed right now. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I am a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to forbiddenknowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, forbiddenknowledge.tv. Again, visit forbiddenknowledge.tv today.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
We're of
the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Gregg Housh, the one and only. We're talking about big tech, big drama. And tonight, Greg and I are going to attempt to explain what is actually going on. And this is a touchy area, Greg, for not only our audience, but the rest of the country and everything else, and where people are talking about First Amendment rights and things. You've been an activist for a very long time about not only these subjects, but the internet and those freedoms the glorious freedom that was promised to us in the very beginning. Things have gone off the track and gone off the rails a few times. We've tried to keep things back on the track, but this is your wheelhouse. And for me to be able to bring you on to this show and discuss these issues that are very sensitive to so many. The internet in any form is now an emotional thing for people, and it is a part of a daily life. This is what we deal with today, and they don't understand a lot of the times the complications that are running in the background. And it surprises me to see over and over again that like the issues with Parler or Twitter or whatever, that First Amendment is the first thing that people bring up. How do you combat that, and how do you take that head on?
Well, I mean, it's a weird one, because anyone screaming that somehow being on Twitter is their First Amendment right hasn't read the First Amendment or seen any precedents that has actually been set around it. The First Amendment protects you with free speech in terms of the government. It, however, does not protect you to use any speech you want on a private company's platform. They are allowed to use terms of services and enforce them on whatever speech they choose. So this is something that they get to do. And what's always been weird to me is when you see something like Parler go down and you start hearing all the free speech claims, and then you hear that Okta, Twilio, Amazon are all backing out of contracts with them. People, again, are screaming about free speech. But it's the exact same people who will scream at you to let the free market speak and let the free market dictate where things go. And the free market spoke, and Parler lost.
An example in a very simple form would be something like this. You own a website that talks about dogs, and you've got a forum there, and you've got people, and you've got somebody that wants to come on and talk about cats. And you tell them, look, man, this is about dogs. I know you love cats, but we need to keep this about, and then it goes south from there. And that, if I own that site, I have the right to kick that person off. We don't, this isn't what we do here. You can elevate that into any area that you want, but in its simplest form, that terms of service is there, and it's a private company, and the line in the sand can be drawn by the owners of the company, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the world we live in. Now, if you want to start arguing how enforceable terms of services are, well, I mean, it's gone up to the federal level and been found to be a federal violation to violate terms of service knowingly by users of these companies. So we have more than enough precedent showing that it is, totally actionable. So they have to remove people. I mean, one of the more interesting things is it works kind of like copyright law, where let a bunch of people violate it, and then you go after one person for violating it, they're going to look at you and say, but you let everyone else do it and didn't do anything about that. So this is, and you won't be able to enforce your trademark anymore. Well, with terms of services, they have to enforce them equally to everyone or to no one.
Right. It's really that simple. And there is something else that the social media platform, a privilege, they are not a right. You sign up for it. You are not brought into it. You volunteer. You sign up. You create the account, and you click on the terms of service and agree to it. It's as simple as that, right? Cancel your account.
Yeah, you can delete your account just as much as they can delete your account.
Right.
You both have that choice in this relationship. It is a business relationship that either of you can end.
I forget what they call it here in California, but there's I forget the law, the name of the law, but you can be fired for whatever reason. in California. They don't have to have a reason to fire you.
Without cause.
Yeah, without cause. You can quit without reason, right? It's equal on both sides. It's a very strange thing. Okay, so in terms of what Parler is saying now, we'll get to Twitter in a second and
Sure.
President Trump. But Parler now is saying that AWS, Amazon Web Services, that there's a 30-day, warning shot before things get pulled off of the servers. And now they're going back and suing Amazon. Is that in your, I know you're not an attorney, but is there any legal wiggle room in something like that?
No. No, this is the last throes of something that is trying to find a way out of a seriously problematic space they've put themselves into. The issue for them is not that there aren't other platforms they can move to. It's that they wrote their code very specifically to work on AWS. And while you can, on Amazon's cloud, write code that will work on almost any other cloud or any other private server if you feel like it. If you want to take advantage of all their cool stuff that lets you scale a little better, that lets you do automated backups and all these other little features that are built into AWS, then you're programming for AWS. So a lot of Parler's code is written and tightly coupled to AWS. So when they move anywhere else, they're going to have to rewrite most of their code. And that's what they're scared of.
Now,
so they're filing this to try and buy themselves some more time to do something like that.
Right. And they're trying to get into a temporary injunction. After bad-mouthing and saying everything about Amazon, now they still want back onto their servers to buy some time. I find that
there's an irony in all of this that, John Matze there used to work for AWS and helped kind of build a lot of what tools he's using now. And people that he used to work with or for are the ones who did this to Parler.
Now, let's back up for a second. I want to talk about Okta. The reason why Okta got involved, they found out that Parler was using a trial version of their software. Now, can you confirm that?
They were using a trial version of the software, and they had found a way to get it to continue to be a trial at a low enough rate that it wouldn't actually force them onto the paid part of the platform.
Now, with Rebecca Mercer in play, why aren't you paying for the real Okta software? I don't understand that. And it comes up. Look, if you are going to, this is where I'm going to probably cross a line. But if you're going to represent yourself as a website that has ethics and integrity, right? And freedom of speech and all of these values that you're going to tout. And
which every single right-wing website will say.
Yes. And then you turn around and you're using a pirated version of trial software that you've modified and haven't paid for 2 years. I've got issues with that.
I mean, the problem here is I'm going to say something legally actionable if I go too deep into that in terms of my opinion of what the real story is here.
Well, then don't
All
do
I will
it.
say is I believe a lot of the people involved at the highest levels here are grifters. They saw an opening that they could use to extract money from rich right-wing investors, and they saw a vector in which there was an upset group of people who didn't feel like they had a home, and taking that money and skimming off the top, they could build that home and still make themselves a lot of cash.
Well,
and I think
that's not
personally, that's what I think Parler was.
Yeah,
it was a grift.
That's not actionable. I think that's
my personal opinion.
Yeah, that's an honest theory. Okay, so now moving back in the other direction. From what I have been able to gather from the professionals out there, I've been reading all of the information I can on Parler and the migration onto another set of servers. This is nothing easy. Where John Matze right now is saying, a few days, maybe about a week, and we'll be back up and running. And then others are saying not so fast. You're talking about months and months of code writing, and then a year or so in the migration process to get everything smoothed out. Are we somewhere in the middle, or are we on the extremes?
Depends on how much support he gets from his new provider, what actual technology that provider is running on, and what they provide. And it also depends on the skill set of his programming team that are going to do the migration. There's a lot. A couple months is not off the table for this to be fully back up and running with the right team, the right investment, and the right technology partner for your hosting. My bigger issues here are Gab. Everyone on the right knows Gab.com. Mm-hmm. And most of us lefties do too. But we just don't use it. Everyone will notice that they've had nothing but trouble keeping online for the last week as Parler's been on its way down and people have been migrating that direction for somewhere to be. Where Parler is probably going to end up is the same servers Gab is, and Gab at 1/3 the size and traffic is falling over and failing and unable to stay online. So what is Parler going to do on those servers at that same host? That host being Epic, EPIK.com, with an owner named Rob Monster. I am not messing with you. His last name is Monster. That is his real last name. And he likes to take people who will scream about free speech and not moderate their platforms, allowing hate, violence, threats to just thrive and put them on his network and shield them from people.
So by Parler going over to there, they're not going to deal with the terms of service contract like they had with AWS.
They're going to have an owner of the company that is fully behind what they're doing if they do end up actually properly built out on Epic's systems. But Epic is nothing compared to AWS. That's like, do you have a local guy near you that you know that's really into bicycles that builds his own custom bicycles? That's like comparing that guy to Trek bicycles. Like it's that world of difference in hosting tools that you're going to have available to you. So like, it's if their engineers are unbelievably good, they could pull something off somewhat a miracle. But we kind of saw with how easy it was for people just to download most of all of the data in like 2 days' time with no authentications, no hacking, no nothing, that their engineers might not be up to that task at that speed.
Now, what is the message that Twitter, Facebook, and the other tech companies, we can even say Pinterest, but and the power that they actually have, and they are not concerned about the president of the United States, right? These decisions were made about the president of the United States, and it's like they don't give a crap. Is that the kind of power that we are talking about with Twitter and Facebook and these other social media platforms?
They kept him up until a couple weeks before the end of his term, when they should have removed him years ago for threats of violence, attacks, outright lies, false information. I don't care what your position in the world is. You shouldn't be allowed to do those things. And he was, on average, hitting 3 outright, direct, provable by simple facts, sometimes even simple math, lies on Twitter a day. That account was followed by too many people to allow that amount of information to keep flowing. Now, that's obviously not why it went down this time. This time, it's because he kept inciting violence. And you can't allow people to incite violence. People died. And what blows my mind is multiple cops are dead, and every Back the Blue rally I've ever seen has been nothing but Trump supporters. Do you back the blue or do you murder cops?
Right.
Which one is it?
Right. And is the power, I mean, the internet is one thing, but when you look at Amazon, you have the commercial side of it, right?
Yep.
The sales. Then you have the web services section, which is equally as ginormous as the distribution and logistics side of Amazon.
Yep.
You look at what Google represents, which is 95% of everybody in the world every single day is using Google, period.
We get to the other side of the coin, right?
Right.
The first side of the coin is any platform like this has the outright right in this country to deny anyone service, including and up to the president. So, and we get these rules thanks to all the Republicans fighting so hard to make sure that bakeries don't have to make gay wedding cakes. I mean, if they don't have to make gay wedding cakes, I don't have to let the president on my platform. Simple as that. It goes both ways. But now you have the other argument, which is unrelated. The unrelated argument to me is, should platforms be as large as this and as monopolistic as this? And that is a whole different argument. And I say no, absolutely not. But that's where things get really, really complicated. Because let me explain this so people really understand it. I was on Parler for about 5 weeks, and on a daily basis, I've received between 3 and 5 death threats. I got doxxed 6 total times in only that many weeks, like full name, home address, all that. I was told all the various things that were going to be done to me for being a lefty and being on their platform. It was quite disgusting. I, however, have literally no fear. It's a problem, honestly. My sense of self-preservation is like gone. So I didn't care on a personal level, but I saw multiple other people getting really upset over how they were getting treated like that over there. And Parler did nothing about it. They didn't even so much as, say stop it to the people who were sending literal death threats with your home address in them. It was hard to get even those parlays to come down, let alone the account to have any kind of action taken against it. So now you're looking at them gone, and we're looking back over at Twitter and Facebook. Something that people have to understand is that moderation at that level, at that scale, to maintain any form of civil society is unbelievably expensive, and it provides no monetary value, meaning that Facebook has an entire building with multiple floors in this building with hundreds and hundreds of employees whose job it is to just sit there and moderate all day. They get paid salaries just to sit there and go through this content and find horrible things, from child abuse photos to death threats to anything you can imagine. These people do not last. Some of them don't last more than 3 months before they can't take it. The trauma of what they've seen trying to moderate on these platforms. So now, how do you afford that building existing, those employees doing the work it takes to keep us having some kind of a civil society here, without the company behind them being large enough to put millions of dollars into that every year, even though it's just a cost and it makes no money? You only afford that as a company like Facebook if you're as large as they are. Like no company that only takes one little piece of Facebook or one little piece of Google can afford to spend that amount of money on moderation. And so we get stuck in this kind of paradoxical situation where, well, monopoly bad. Everything Facebook, Twitter, and all them are doing, and Google with their monopolies, bad. However, no moderation and absolute freedom to do whatever you want means death threats, creepers hunting people down, means people getting doxxed and then sexually abused, means child pornography being shared all over your platforms. So, like, there's got to be a middle ground, and I don't know where it is, but it's scary to think. Imagine a Facebook without moderators.
Yeah.
I don't want to be there.
No. And with
I also don't want them to be a monopoly. So
right. Total paradox. And so with Parler, what I had read back in November, I don't know about specifically today, but I had read back in November there was only 25 employees there. How can you have 2 or 3 million people accessing your site and posting in 30 days without a moderation team, no matter how great your automation systems are? How is it even possible?
Oh, it's not with that size, and it wasn't happening, which is why they started to lose all of their stuff. The things that you could do on that platform and just completely get away with were disgusting. I fight for free speech. I have been in the front line and gotten my head kicked on the way down a flight of stairs by someone wearing a swastika on their armband, defending people's free speech. I am here for free speech. However, I am not here for open death threats, threats of mutilation, threats of sexual abuse against people simply for their political views, which is what was happening on that platform all over the place. So it was crazy. Me, a few other people like Aubrey Cottle, John Jackson, like just a bunch of us went over there and tried to interact with that community in any sane way. And I mean, it was day one that the first death threat hit me, and day two that I was completely doxxed on the platform.
The moderation side, moving forward, if they are on a server network like Epic that doesn't really care about your content, what about everything else that comes into play here? Other software, other things that are needed on the platform to run. Are there terms of service and ethical standards that come into play?
There are. It's going to be tough for them to keep a lot of those services alive here with U.S. services. If you look at like the Proud Boy type of money raising, right? They were using GoFundMe for a long time to fund like, I'm going to DC. GoFundMe doesn't allow that anymore. Those things disappear quickly. So we ended up with a right-wing platform that calls itself right-wing and Christian and all these other things. They're really targeting kind of the Trumper crowd. Was a Give, Send, Go. And so they all moved there. But it's a much smaller platform, and there's just only them. It's a very echo chambery kind of a place. But you have to build your own, which is exactly how America works. If businesses don't want to provide you a service, then someone who agrees with you better have that service available, or you're in trouble. This is a free market, and that has been everything every Republican has ever told me they wanted was a free market and to let the market choose. Well, when the market chooses that they don't want to serve you, you're going to have to build it yourself.
Now, what about nodes? What about the internet itself and running traffic onto the internet? Who controls that?
There are interconnects, and there are different forms of routing and contracts you have to have at these big trunk service providers. So there are big bandwidth providers like Level 3. Sprint is one of the bigger ones out in the Midwest. They've got a big hub there. And the way it works is kind of, you'll connect up with someone. It's kind of like a food chain. It goes up, right? You'll connect with someone local who is paid for this amount of bandwidth to be coming into their building where their servers are from the provider bigger than them, from the provider bigger than them, and so on. And by the end, you're at the end of it. And that's usually a Sprint or an AT&T or someone of that size with that amount of backbone infrastructure. So like here locally, if I wanted to put a server up that was my own hardware and I wanted to walk it into a building, I would contract with Level 3. And then they've got a contract for the lines coming out of their stuff to connect up somewhere, a much bigger company. And 2 or 3 companies up the line, it's at one of those Sprints or AT&Ts or one of those other large companies.
Do they have the ability at that level as you climb up the rings to throttle traffic or to stop it?
They, the throttling, they weren't allowed to legally until the net neutrality losses we took at the FCC, thanks to Ajit Pai being in Verizon and Comcast's pocket and doing whatever they asked of him. But now they can. However, you don't get much enforcement of that. The contracts are really clear on what they can and can't do. Usually it's down to the lower level one to make a decision. It's rare that like the provider, like say I did put a server up in Level 3 here, just one of their co-location facilities. It's rare that their provider would say this one client of yours needs to go. It would take a lot of pressure. Now, that's kind of the size of pressure that Parler was, put under. So maybe it would have happened, but that's a little rarer. More often than not, it's people who think they're going to lose large clients from this. And those people aren't going to lose large clients. Their clients are Comcast. You know, Comcast isn't going to pull from the only provider in town who can provide that much bandwidth. They need it. And there's only one place they can go. But Twilio might lose some big accounts if they don't get Parler, because people will move because there's 3 or 4 other services that are just as good.
Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, the one and only Gregg Housh. Lots to talk about. Big tech, big drama. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Gregg Housh. More with Gregg in just a minute. We're talking about big tech, big problems, big issues. Well, right now, the best thing that you can do is get yourself a VPN. I use Virtual Shield VPN. There are suggestions right now that credit scores might be based on our internet history in the near future. This scares me. The same way banks use data like income to judge credit eligibility now, today, is how websites could use internet search history in the future. If you want to prevent this from happening to you, use the very best VPN out there. That is Virtual Shield VPN. Simple. virtualshield.com/fade to black takes you straight there. You can also click on the links over on our website or click on the video link below in the description box. Virtual Shield VPN. Now, Greg, the list of tech companies right now, aside from the banks that have banned Trump, we've got President Trump. We've got Reddit, we've got Twitch, we've got Shopify, we've got Twitter, we've got Google, we've got YouTube, we've got Facebook, we have Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Apple, of course, Discord, and Pinterest. I guess he can't post any more pictures of the rustic kitchen over in the White House, but of course, Stripe is now in play. Of course, Okta with Parler and so forth, and Twilio. Is this a way to establish somebody like persona non grata, to just take them out of society? Is this effectively what could happen?
I don't think it's necessary at that level, in that his own exact words were, if I lose this, you'll never see me again. And I'm really hoping that comes true. But this, again, this is the free market speaking. They've decided they don't want his disinformation anymore.
Is this dangerous for everybody? And let me back up.
Yeah,
I remember conversations about having your banking info embedded in a chip, in your right hand or whatever. No more cash money, cashless society. And if they wanted to turn you off, it's like the movie, like Black Mirror, right? They want to turn you off, you're turned off. You can't outrun big tech. And if they choose to do that to you, you can't fight back and get the switch turned back on because you're angry. It doesn't work that way.
No.
If it can happen to President Trump, it can happen to anybody, right?
Sure. But again, it takes a hell of a lot to get people here. It took 4 years of this to get them there. And it took people finally storming the Capitol building and killing cops for this to happen. So, unless you're at that level, you shouldn't fear. Any fear of this happening to you, unless you're at that literal level, is undue paranoia, and you should seek help.
Okay. I wish everybody could see Greg's face. But is this
unwarranted self-importance is a problem in our society these days, and this isn't going to happen to anyone that's not at that level. It's just not. It's too much effort and work and PR and legal and blah 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 you have to earn this.
Right, and the ability to do this for somebody like Stripe, and today it was a Deutsche Bank, cutting off the money supply. This is where is there no fear? Right? Is there no fear? The repercussions of what President Trump can or cannot do, right? Is this not a concern for anybody anymore?
I don't think I fully understand. It's not a concern for me. I've been begging for him to absolutely disappear from every platform since before he was elected. So
I'm looking at this now. I won't tell anybody what I'm looking at. Let me see if I can blow it up. Okay, I'll examine this later.
Yeah. It's an interesting, archive page there.
I don't know what to say, and let's just continue the conversation. The the world now is fully engaged in what the internet is. The internet is way beyond social media platforms. It's our infrastructure, it's our electricity, it's our flight systems, it's airplanes, it's logistics, it's trucks, it's boats. It's absolutely everything in your world.
Groceries, you listen to your music over it, you can do your banking over it. It's everything. You can do everything on the internet. And I remember when that wasn't possible. I've watched as it grew like this from, I first got on all the way back in 92. And so before it even went public. And so I've gotten to watch it grow. And early on, it was just this thing off to the side. Now I couldn't live without it.
And nobody could. That's it. Every element of your life, from when you wake up until you go to bed, everything, every step, every minute of your day somehow is dependent on the internet. All of it. Everything, period. Most people don't understand that.
I imagine a world where I get to just go off and build a log cabin and ignore it all. But activism seems to be who I am, so I just can't stop it. But, man, it would be nice to just walk away from it.
Now, and I bring this up because the chatter that is going on out there with Twitter removing the real Donald Trump account caused the stock to crash. They lost $5 billion. Some are saying it's $12 billion. In the long game, does Jack Dorsey care about that?
Not at all. His other companies like Square and whatnot are worth so much that it's stupid amounts of money. It doesn't matter. The only thing that would matter to him is if his investors, the shareholders and whatnot came at him for it, but they didn't. They agreed with the banning. So in the end, remember these types of public companies aren't there for anything other than making money for the shareholders. So if you do something that could be considered a mistake, the only real mistake would be the shareholders then coming for your job, and they aren't coming for his job on this one.
And so in the, a $5 billion loss to Jack, he understands that he is at a level in the world of money that you and I, or this audience, know nothing about. Right, and we never will.
The game of capitalism, he is at the top. He's won. He's good at that video game, much like Bezos and a few others. It's for some reason his head works that way. Mine doesn't.
That's right. Now I've said this before, but I'll say this. I've met Jack. I've hung out with Jack. He follows me on Twitter. I follow him. He helped me set up my Twitter account. Back in the day in 2008. I've told you about that before.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, man, pretty cool dude. Right?
I've never had any problems with him.
He's a pretty cool guy.
You put the picture up.
What's that?
You put the picture up on the stream.
Oh, I didn't?
It's gone.
I did? No, I didn't.
It was there for a quick second.
No, I'm yours.
Chat, you can screen capture that. That's the picture I sent him.
No, that's yours. Only you see that. Nobody else does. Not on my feed. No. This is closed circuit, bro.
Hey, chat, did you see it? Just tell him if you saw it.
Impossible.
I hope not.
Yeah, impossible.
I hope so, actually, because I think it's funny.
Impossible. If anybody knew what we were talking about. Okay, is this... when we look at Facebook and everything went down with Cambridge and Zuck and the Senate and Congress and everything else, and then because of the data, the person of 1% of their advertising income.
Yeah.
I mean,
it didn't hurt them at all. It was not noticeable.
No. And it was gained back immediately, right?
Yeah.
And so this mass exodus, as some people are saying, is occurring right now with Twitter and going elsewhere. It is nothing that affects the company's bottom line in the long run, right? Again, Jack is playing.
Not enough people. I mean, you've got millions and millions and millions of users and views every day, and 70,000 people might not come back. I have tweeted things on my own account that have gotten that many views in one day from just like my followers and retweets like that. That is not a number that is significant to that company at all.
And it's the same thing with Stripe. It's the same thing with Deutsche Bank, right? It's the same thing with all of these in the big play in the future by doing this and this type of cancel culture, whatever you want to talk about it doesn't affect their bottom line.
No, not in that way. I mean, cancel culture can be talked about in all kinds of ways, but I know that's not what the episode's about tonight. But some people, deserve the canceling,
The next stage of this conversation is that with the way that it is now in our life, and I'm talking about the internet in general, when we look at Twitter or Facebook or anything else, the majority of the vast amount of users are there for entertainment, they're there for sports, they're there for other reasons, and they're not there for politics. They're not there for this, and we may be talking about it, but most people don't even know that this is going on.
My family, hearing how I talk and everything, it's funny to say, but like my whole family down in Texas, where I'm from, are Trump-supporting Trump voters who voted for him both times. But even when they're on Facebook, they ignore all political stuff. They literally are there to share pictures of their nieces and nephews and interact with each other.
And the inauguration is on the 20th. Is there going to be a throttling back of this chatter? The reason why I bring this up is yesterday on all of the media outlets, it doesn't matter who, talked about armed things happening in every state capital across the United States, and I look at that as fear. And now I'm bringing the media back in as upping the level of this.
But I was in a Telegram chat just yesterday morning that had 265,000 people in it that ran a poll on whether when we do this on the 17th and the 20th, we should bring our guns or not. And it got 241,000 votes, and it was 98% armed and ready was the winner. The other chat that those same people who run that one were running on Telegram had about 12,000 people in it. It was a more concentrated organizing chat. And they put up one, who would you rather raise your children, a liberal or a Nazi? 88% Nazi.
Now,
and this is the same group of people who organized in the background with people like Ali and all the others, the 6th, but they also helped organize the Stop the Steal event, a month ago that happened down there, Pat King and all them. These are their chat rooms that they're running. Most of the people who left Parler and all that, like Dan, Bond, Dino, like all those people, they've set up big. There's even an official freaking Trump chat room now on Telegram, like that has like 300,000 something people. Like that's where they all went, and I was in some of their private ones with one of my sock puppets, and they were. Maybe they don't show up, but man, were they planning it?
The divisiveness that is happening right now. I posted up in Twitter today. I said this. Let me get the wording of it correct. I said, "Blue must hate red. Red must hate blue. You are falling for their plan, and they are laughing at you." And I posted that up on Twitter, and we are all witnessing people hating their neighbors now, right? This distrust. It's fueled by not only social media, but it's fueled by the media themselves, where these lines have been drawn, and suddenly we're a divided country. Is the mass media just as responsible for this as social media?
Absolutely. They both have the same responsibility in terms of driving the narrative for views. When you look at everything from Fox to OAN to Newsmax to CNN to MSNBC, they need money from their advertisers. Those advertisers need to see numbers. The way you get numbers is sensationalism. When you look on That's all of the Telegram channels that they set up a couple days ago to start migrating people so they could keep following. And like, I mean, like, look at that.
Yeah, I'm reading it now. That's
about half of those were banned last night by Telegram.
Very interesting. And let me take a look. Okay, so do you expect, or do you see in the future for this on the side of the media and trying to bring down the temperature? I think that the majority of this country wants to move forward and put this stuff behind us, but it's the media that should help with all of this and coming forward. Has things just gone too far?
Yeah, way too far. But no, I don't see that happening at all. Most of the media, especially things like Fox News, I mean, they've been clear in multiple court cases about the fact that they don't have to tell the truth. Literally, in a case with Tucker Carlson, they called themselves an entertainment company and said that they don't have to adhere to any journalistic standards, that they don't have to tell the truth, that his entire show is entertainment. And they do that because they're feeding a narrative that their, billionaire backers want them to. And the other side isn't any better at that. They're all feeding their narratives. And they're all politically minded. They're all aligned with the different parties. And the thing that I will say is that, in order for these media companies to change in any way that would be positive for society, you would need pressure from politicians. The politicians don't want that either. We live in a society that is a false dichotomy, this duality of red versus blue, of, Republicans, Democrats. Like, the thing that people don't seem to grasp when they just vote hard red or hard blue is that when you get to the top of those two parties, they love each other. The Republican Party and the GOP itself generates most of its donations because they get to point at the Democrats and say you can't let them get elected because you hate them, right? And the Democrats get most of their donations because they get to look at their base and say, you don't want those evil people who don't believe in climate change to get elected, right?
Right.
So the Democrats aren't anywhere near as powerful as they could be if the Republicans are destroyed. The Republicans aren't anywhere near as powerful as they are if the Democrats are destroyed. So they want each other to exist and be just as powerful as they are. So at those top levels where decisions could be made, where power shifts could be pushed, where media companies could be regulated in any way that would convince them to start acting for the public good, it ain't going to happen. That takes away the power of the people who would be enacting the rules in the first place.
You have to have an enemy.
Rule against themselves.
Right. And what going back to the censorship issue, we have different segments of society that are trying to speak up that have been removed. I'm talking specifically about, Del Bigtree and the anti-vaxxers that are out there that are trying to get data out. If you don't go with the narrative, then you are spreading disinformation. We are going to remove your ability to communicate. They did that with Del Bigtree. They did it with David Icke. Whether you're talking about, if you're
spreading things that people die from, then you should be stopped. Polio would be gone 100% on this planet if they allowed us to actually vaccinate in certain areas. Polio is one of the ones that we got to 99% eradicated, and then conspiracy theories convinced people in some countries like Pakistan that we were doing horrible things with these vaccines, and they stopped allowing the vaccines to come in, and polio is starting to spread again. There are multiple diseases that are deadly and painful and horrible for children to go through that could be gone if these anti-vaxxers hadn't started being, I won't swear up and down on your show, but who they are in the 90s when a grifter started the whole damn movement and got found out and got fined and was charged with fraud.
Yes, but is silencing any voice that is out there, including your own, is that the way to go?
If what I was saying was killing children, then I would hope people would silence me.
Right. Yes. But, and I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. If you remove all of this, then you're not able to follow the information that is incorrect.
The lies, yes. Right. Yeah. So you as a human being, all the studies, the psychology is very well understood. The more lies and misinformation and disinformation you feed into your brain, the less critical thinking capability you have. It actually does real physical changes and damage to your brain over the years. So as a society, I mean, it is actually better for the entire society to remove that stuff, not only for like the anti-vaxxers who are literally causing people to die, but for just disinformation in general, as it is built for propaganda. There are very few people pushing disinformation that aren't profiting off of it. And it is for profit that they are doing it. Again, like the guy who started the anti-vax movement, he did it for profit. It's sad, and the human brain can't withstand that amount of cognitive dissonance that happens when it's fed that many lies and that much disinformation. It's bad for society. You know what you end up with? 74 million people voting for Trump again, and people rioting and entering the Capitol building and killing cops. That's what you end up with when you allow disinformation to just work as hard as it was, not only for the last 30 years, but for the last 4 years especially.
Before we head to the break, 2020 allowed everybody to be locked down, not leaving their houses, and spending time on the internet, where these conspiracy theories were allowed to propagate. Some of them had foundation to it. Okay,
COVID helped QAnon grow a lot.
Well, and okay. The lockdown nearly changed DNA. And I'm being serious about this. We're talking about covering of faces, being locked down in your house, being fed information all day long. You're not out there.
You are a product of your environment.
Right. And that we are today where we are, where you can't get people to back up on the ideas that they have built up on for 12 months.
It's hard. I mean, you find ways to cope in tough situations, and a lot of people's coping mechanism was going down these rabbit holes, and they'd end up with whatever they believed. And hey, that is how the human brain works. I have found myself on YouTube at 3 a.m. wondering how this happened, because it was 10 p.m. a few minutes ago, and I just kept clicking on the next video it was recommending, and I ended up somehow watching something that I never would have chosen to watch myself. A lot of us went through that over this time period. So, it helped a lot of conspiracy theory and a lot of other things, especially misinformation happen. And that's not to say that all conspiracy theory is false. We have proven time and time again that conspiracy theories can become true. People were talking about MKUltra before we had the proof that it happened. So I'm not going to sit here and say all conspiracy theory is wrong. I'm just going to say that, the majority has been proven false time and time again.
Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, the one and only Gregg Housh. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. That's right. More of this when we come back. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to getthetea.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's getthetea.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRAradio.com.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Gregg Housh. Gregg Housh, activist, been at the center of all of this for so long. And we've toned it down somewhat tonight. But I can tell you this. Anytime that I contact Gregg, he is somewhere in the country in the middle of it and in the thick of things. And when you hear Gregg speak, he's not doing this, from the comfort of his living room. He's out there doing this around the country and speaking out loudly about all of these issues. And certainly the internet is a part of your life, Gregg. And when the movie The Social Dilemma came out, and I watched it, and then I rewatched it, there was a certain part of me that was angry, and then there was a certain part of me that I had to look back at myself and then look at my internet world and consider what my news feed was. And one of the things that is important, probably the most important thing, and there's two with The Social Dilemma, is that everybody's news feed is tailor-made for them. They think the world is their news feed, and they think that everybody else around them has the same feed, and they do not. Down to the most individual person on the planet. And that is a pretty crazy algorithm and to think about, isn't it?
It really is. For people who haven't watched The Social Dilemma, you should. It is amazing. Jeff Orlowski does just the best freaking work. It's a docudrama, so it's, kind of dramatized version of a documentary. But it's a lot of real interviews with real people who, worked at places like Facebook, Google, Apple, all those. And they go into great detail about the level of manipulation that's possible on platforms like this and how they use it to extract the most possible money out of you. Like there have been experiments where Facebook thinks it's okay to test if we show you ads that are sent, or if we show you posts that our sentiment analysis software says we'll put you in X mood, and then we show you Y ad, will you buy it more often? And so like that level of user manipulation is at the core of why these algorithmic news feeds are problematic in the wrong hands and will almost never end up in the right hands.
The individual user is effectively put in a bubble. It is their world, and it's their world that is individual, that isn't shared with anybody else. And
it's we like to joke about it being called the Skinner box. It's the same thing used for microtransactions on games when they take over the full screen and they trick you into just one more penny, and you realize, an hour in, you've spent $50 somehow. Yeah. The Skinner box is the metric for it. That's it's the real name for the Skinner box. Skinner's just the name of the person behind the psychological method here. Is an operant conditioning chamber. And the operant conditioning chamber is something used in laboratory testing where a rat, a pigeon, any kind of animal will be put in a box with almost no outside stimulus and then be given a trigger that will give them something they want. Even if there's multiple and only one works, they'll use little levers that, mice or rats have to hit, and it gives them food. The same methodology used to build these Skinner boxes, these operant conditioning chambers, is the same idea behind your news feed. You are stuck looking at this screen as if you were in a box. You aren't averting your eyes from it. You are in there. Imagine you're in that news feed, and they are feeding you what it takes to get you to give them more money. And if it's not more money, it's just as valuable. It's more data.
The interviews in The Social Dilemma, which I think across the board say the same thing, the same message, in that they didn't realize when they were trying to monetize things back in 1995, 96, 97, 98, that these very simple algorithms would turn into what they turn in today, and they are out of control, and there is no way to reel them back in. And the end result is going to be entropy at its finest, right? It is just going to come completely unglued. And there's nothing that they can do about it at this point.
No, building out these algorithms is interesting when you look back at the history of them, even down to who would see what data. Like the very first time that Facebook's algorithm really started to show users slightly different information wasn't because they were testing anything. It was because, for scale reasons, they were getting so large that they literally couldn't get the data around their network fast enough that if you posted something and me and one other of your friends pulled up your feed, that we would both see it at the same time. So they gave up on consistency, and they rewrote their data backend to something called eventually consistent. And that was the first time they touched on the data that users see doesn't have to be the exact same data at the exact same time. And from there, it gets, well, wait, then maybe we could. And you slowly start building on top of that. What if we really showed them different data? And what if, but it's just the initial idea was literally, we're going to show you different data because it means we can scale better, not because we're going to manipulate you. But so you can see the good intentions behind the very initial move. And you can see the next initial move was, well, but man, if we didn't show him this user's post and we showed him an ad there instead, and we get to hire 2 more people to do this extra job that we need. And you can kind of see that's not that evil, right? And it keeps building until suddenly it's all evil. It's gigantic and it's a monster. And if you touch the monster, many people might lose their jobs. And that's where their mind is, right? Like the size of their company, the volume of money being made. Mark Zuckerberg isn't taking a pay cut. There might be less moderators next year if that place starts losing money.
And there was another nugget in The Social Dilemma that blew my mind, where they were trying to do good for the end user by giving them ads that would make sense to them. You don't want to waste ad space on somebody they're just not interested in the ad. So they tried to write these algorithms so that they could take care of the end users, where they would see, ads that would interest them. That same algorithm was then used for news items, right? That could come in and be in somebody's news feed because possibly it would be interesting to them, and maybe this other news isn't, and that's what got out of control, right?
Really, yeah. I mean, the first ideas that especially on Facebook, on their platform, that they had around the ads were people kept reporting and complaining about ads that were so irrelevant to them. Like a 15-year-old getting an ad for a new house, or a 90-year-old getting an ad for a brand new motorcycle. Like, these weren't things that they were ever going to buy. So the team started figuring out, how do we show them ads that are going to lead to less work for us on the reporting and a better experience for them. I'm sure there were the few marketing savvy people there who were like, and maybe since the ads will be better, they might click on them more. But the very initial nugget, the first thing in the first developer's name, and he's one of the people who talks in the Social Dilemma, talks about it, but it's like the very first nugget was, can we make the user experience a little better so they stop seeing all these ads they hate? And so, like, a lot of these algorithms didn't, like, Zuckerberg didn't sit down one day and say, I'm going to build a layer and we're going to build this evil algorithm. No, it organically grew on top of itself over and over and over. It's just this type of data collection necessary to build this algorithm, and then the amount of money they need to make to maintain it is unmaintainable unless it goes bad and dark and evil, I think, personally.
And these algorithms are actually very simple. They weren't this complex thing. It was that they were taking the user data that is there, your search history, what you're clicking on, and really that was it. But today, the user data on each individual is huge. It's complete. They understand you more than your children do. They really are a step ahead of what is going on. The data collection on the end users is so complete that now when we're talking about a tailored news feed, it is based on a metric that you would be blown away if you knew how much data was there.
So, Apple has introduced in their new iOS, the newest one anyways, not like new now, but the newest one, a lot more privacy features. And one of them is any app that includes another company's code to accomplish something, if that company's code is going to track the user and tell, such as, you're running a game, and you load up this game, and it allows you to log into the game to remember your high scores and go against everyone else in the world, or log in and play Words with Friends or something, but allows you to do it with Facebook. Now Facebook knows that you just played Words with Friends on your phone in this location at this time, and then you did it 5 more times at around that same time. They know now that that's a little free time you've got at that time. Maybe we need to start focusing our ads near that, right? So Apple released an update that any app that used tools like Facebook's or Twitter's or anyone else's login features for their app had to warn the user that they were getting tracked by Facebook and give them the option to turn it off. This led to an understanding of how important that data was, because Facebook took out full-page, full-color ads in multiple newspapers complaining about this update.
That's incredible to me. And this data is shared between AT&T, Apple, Facebook, Google. This is a commodity.
Well, there's data aggregators. There's middlemen who collect all of this and build giant data sets. So, like, if you've seen some of the big, where 300 million people's data was, like, hacked, like, in the last, decade, when those types of leaks happen, and you hear it's from some random company, Innovox Data, and you've never heard of these freaking people, they're one of those data warehousing places that take all this data from all these companies, collate it together, figure out that this data is one human being's data, and then can feed that back out to everyone like Facebook and everyone else. And these data warehouses are just, they have more data on you than you could ever imagine.
Now, and the data starts from, especially today, newborn, right? Baby's born. The file is now is established.
Yeah.
And as crazy as that sounds, that's like the most valuable data, because you can start building it from the youngest age possible and extend it out.
Yeah. And you know, there's lots of legal loopholes that you have to go through to be able to track any of that. So a lot of that is tracked through parents, through guardians, things like that. You know, kids aren't supposed to have a Facebook account until they're 13 and crap like that, right? But you can set up, you know, YouTube Kids accounts, you know, and then whenever they're watching or Netflix Kids accounts, and so you know young children are not watching all this, that data is being tracked.
Now, how important is it for everybody that is on social media to watch The Social Dilemma? Should it be, you know, you sign the TOS, but you have to watch the documentary first?
Yeah, I really don't care if you read the terms of service. You kind of know what's in there. Don't be an ass and we won't ban you is kind of the gist. Anything beyond that, if you actually triggered it, you've probably violated multiple major other laws. So I don't think you have to worry about the TOS, but I would say that everyone who is skipping past that TOS should not skip The Social Dilemma. It really explains to you just how we've gotten to where we are with the amount of information that's out there. But it also explains how the divide has gotten so large and how we've been divided into groups by these large companies and these interests, these rich, powerful interests. Again, the billionaires have gained hundreds of billions of dollars during the pandemic because we've all been at home using their tools.
I read the other day, Elon Musk started out 2020 worth $29 billion. He ended 2020 worth $189 billion.
Yeah. That's how the pandemic went for billionaires.
It's crazy to me. And the other part about The Social Dilemma is when you are walking down the hallway at work and you say good morning to somebody and they bite your head off, they are assuming that you read the same stuff in your news feed that morning that they did. And now we have this disconnect with everybody because nobody is getting the same information from the same sources. And this is now prevalent across not only the United States, but all around the world.
Yeah, and it's more echo chambers because you have the people that only believe what Fox says and the people that only believe what MSNBC says. And then the people who think all mass media is wrong and they will only listen to Chuck Down the Street's blog. You know, and so like it's just ugh. You know, the one thing I have to say about Chuck Down the Street's blog, though, is when you look in the footer and you go and you find the privacy policy, you find who's backing it. 9 times out of 10, it's a think tank trying to spread more disinformation.
Now, if we go back to when YouTube was created, and I spent so much time on there watching, and I did this watching the craziest conspiracy stuff. And especially, you know, the 9/11 videos and everything that was out there. I viewed it largely as entertainment, whether it was UFOs or ghosts or anything, just, you know, and that's what built YouTube. That's what made YouTube what it was or what it is today. But now we're in a danger zone with censorship that maybe UFOs are something that is against the government's wishes. And
well, I think on that one, we're kind of heading in a stranger direction where, like, they've released more video that they've said we don't know what this is in the last year than I've seen them do in the last 20 years.
Right. But 9/11, right? Or Alex Jones or any of this other stuff.
Alex Jones is...
but what I'm saying is...
I don't want to upset your users, but I hope he gets hit by a bus.
Yeah, we're all on the same page with Alex Jones, who just came out with a video yesterday condemning QAnon. Did you see that?
Yeah, that's only because they were eating into his profits. He's a grifter.
Yeah, that's what I said yesterday too. but I don't think that all of that disinformation that was out there in 2008, 2009, 2010 changed society. You know, if you viewed it as entertainment and just go and watch it, that's one thing, right? And I just, oh, look at that.
Only he can see it. Yeah. Yeah, the audience doesn't see me on camera. They only see Jimmy and the guitars.
Yeah, nobody saw. Oh, yeah, you can see those. But is it what's the difference between Alex Jones being entertainment, like you had said earlier, and censorship? That's the weird part that I think everybody is concerned about.
Not weird for me. He keeps going and doing things like working with Ali Alexander, who helped organize the coup attempt, the insurrection. If you are going to encourage people to be violent and to actually go out and do violence to other human beings, then it is not censorship. Hate speech is not protected by the free speech rules.
Yeah, but that's not what
he is all hate and yelling and anger.
Yeah. That's another.
That man's face is red like all day long from anger.
That's another conversation. What I'm referring to is 9/11 conspiracy videos or any other conspiracy videos out there that are
right
somebody's
now, that's
ideas.
Those haven't been banned yet.
So what's the difference? That's my point.
Well, the 9/11 videos aren't currently getting people killed from others storming the Capitol building, aren't putting us in the streets against each other. You know, when I go out to a protest here in Boston, I'm chest to chest with people literally wearing neo-Nazi insignias. There are people in this liberal state, one of the bluest states in the union, right? Mm-hmm. Who walk around downtown now carrying Sonnenrad flags, which is a Nazi symbol, and wearing their shirts for their group, the NSC 131, which is they're National Socialists, and they admit it. It's in their name. They just jokingly call it the National Social Club, not the National Socialists Club. But we know who they are. And they're very clear about it with their 88 tattoos and their lightning strike tattoos. But, so the 9/11 conspiracies aren't fueling that. Whereas the far-right QAnon types are fueling that. And so it's the difference between I've never been punched or had a flagpole swung at my head. And I'm talking like a big, 2.5-inch thick flagpole, swung at my head by someone screaming about 9/11. But I have had multiple Trump supporters who were QAnon people at protests standing around with people literally flying swastikas or Confederate flags who have swung flagpoles at my head. One is leading to violent divide. One is just people disagreeing with each other. That's the difference to me.
Now, what do you see in the next 6 months? Is the country going to go into amnesia and forget about the past, and we're going to move forward and have flowers hanging out of our pockets? Or is this going to continue to get out of control?
I was having a conversation with people on my show. For everyone watching, I have my own show, the Gregg Housh Show. It's on Twitch live Monday, Wednesday, Friday. At 7 p.m. But we were talking about that specifically, and I don't think the divide is bridgeable with political terminology, with debate. I don't think when you go into those debates that anyone's really genuine anymore. They just want to win their side of the debate. So they'll say what it takes to think they've won. So instead, we need to do stuff that brings people a bit of calm, a sense of ease, that maybe kind of slows everyone down a little bit and makes them realize that, we can all live together here. And I think, one of the stranger things there is most of the stuff that is going to make your life easier, where you're not feeling so much stress and pain, are seriously progressive ideas. There's a reason a lot of those Scandinavian countries come out at the top of the happiness indexes. And it's their, healthcare systems. It's their base pay for people like UBI. It's when you're in Finland and, you get pregnant and you're about to have a child, a box shows up at your house with like a crib, baby clothes, the bottles, all the stuff you need to get started. And it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, you get it. The car seat, if we were to get some progressive ideas like universal basic income, Medicare for all these other systems in place that would make people's lives easier and just a little less stressful, I think they'd calm the fuck down. Now, here's our problem. We've elected in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and we've got a Schumer Pelosi set up on the other side of this, and none of them, in my eyes, work for the people. We have, Kamala Harris, who calls herself, her own words, top cop. Multiple interviews, she said that. While we have police killing people in the streets and protests all over the country because of it, we've elected a top cop. And while we're trying to worry about, the size of our prison population, we elect the president as a person who enacted the crime bill, who put most of them in there. When we're talking about the surveillance state and all the censorship we don't want to see, we're talking about the man who helped draft the Patriot Act for mass surveillance. Like, we didn't elect the people that are going to help us get to that comfortable space and really heal, I don't think, personally. I think someone like a Bernie would have been someone who was better at bringing us together, simply not by convincing any far-right people that he was right, but simply making their lives a little better so they didn't have to be fighting against whatever was causing their problems. I think that's our solution here. Whether you politically agree with me or not, the solution to me is if everyone's life was just that little better, they might not be out on the streets protesting all day.
Yeah, especially after a year of lockdown where they've had way too much time to worry. And right now, we don't have a plan forward. I mean, that includes me. I have no idea what the plan is. And all we want is some sense of stability. And I don't care where it comes from, Greg. Yeah. I really don't. I don't. Everybody needs that.
I admit that I am totally a progressive, when it comes to all this. So I want all those things for my own political views, of course. But I'm just trying to think through this logically. Like, what gets someone to the point where they think they need to be out in the streets? And it's because they're oppressed. It's because they're hurting. It's because they aren't making their bills. It's 100 reasons that gets someone to a point in their head where they need to start acting.
Right.
And I don't care what your reason is. I'm not even talking from the political side. If we can make life just that much better for those people, I think we all do better. I think we calm down. I think the divide gets slightly bridged. I don't know that we ever come all the way back together. There's a lot of people that I just don't find myself ever agreeing with. They all seem to think walking around the Capitol with a Confederate flag is an okay thing to do. Even in the Civil War, that thing never got within 95 miles of that house.
Gregg Housh. Okay. Gregg Housh. Man, and see, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. But it is great to talk with somebody who is A, an activist, B, been through what you've been through, C, your intelligence on the technical side and everything else, but you believe in what you say. And conviction is half of the battle, man. It's half of the theatrics. Thank you so much, my friend. And I look forward to coming on your show and lighting the fires over there, too, as well.
When?
Whenever you're ready.
Anything that's not Friday is all yours, man. You want next Monday? You on? Wednesday?
No, Friday would be best. I'm not on the air on Friday.
That's when I have a guest every single week. Same guest every time.
Well, then
you know what?
You're gonna boot him.
Let's plan something here. Right before the end here, let's do a joint show, video, both of us. You're on mine because mine's video,
right?
And I'm on yours, audio,
right? No, we can do that.
Same time.
We can do that.
Let's work on that for not next week, so we can do it right, but the week after. 2 weeks from today, we're gonna figure that out.
You're the best, Greg. Thank you so much, my friend.
All right, thanks, man.
Great show. Gregg Housh, and again, it's very simple. you can head straight over to GreggHoush.com. All of his info is over there, and the links are at JimmyChurchRadio.com. I'm going to take a quick break. Thank you, Greg. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
I'm going to take a quick break, and I'm going to come back to your phone calls. 747-228-2051. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I am a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Again, visit ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you to Gregg Housh. Amazing conversation. 747-228-2051. 747-228-2051. Open lines right now. And hold on, I'm going to send this tweet out right now. Let's see. Overgrown if you don't listen to everyone. Seriously. I'll even hashtag this so everybody can see it. That's it. Boom. That is always my position. You need to listen to everyone. When I was, I remember, I've said this so many times on the air, so I'll say it again. I was a kid. I was young. I was probably 9 years old. And somebody said to me, and I forget what I said to trigger this, but I said something, and this adult looked at me and said, "That is the problem with the world. Nobody listens. Everybody's talking. You've got to listen to everybody if you're going to grow." I never forgot that. Just stuck with me my entire life. And everybody, I've always had a problem of talking too much and talking over people and things, on the back of my report cards. I would come home from school, say on the back of the report card, "Jimmy talks too much," right? And I have to have my parents sign that and take it back to school. You remember that. And I'm certainly not the only child to have that written on the back of the report card, but I had it on every report card in every grade. But those words were spoken to me, and I listened to everybody. There is nothing like a spirited debate and just putting everything on the table. That's it. You must listen to everybody. You have to. And one of the most things to me, when I would listen to talk radio a lot, was listening to a radio program that I agreed with. I lose interest. I zone out. The programming that I listened to was the stuff that I didn't agree with. I'd be driving my car, but I couldn't change the dial. No. That's what's interesting. So always think about that. So that's why I just tweeted that out. Always listen to everybody. All right, 747-228-2051. Also, tomorrow night is Fader night. Tomorrow night's John Greenwald. Thursday night is Fader night. Tomorrow night's John Greenwald. But tomorrow is a crazy day in this country. I have no idea what we're going to wake up to and where we're going to be at the end of the day tomorrow. It's going to be very, very interesting. Okay. All right. 747-228-2051. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Oh, that's my bad. Hold on. Yeah. It always helps to take somebody off of hold first. And so there you go. All right, let's try this again. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
This is Mike from Vegas.
Hey, Mike from Vegas. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Jimmy. How are you?
I am fantastic. It's kind of a mellow day in this country, and
for a change, yeah, very nice. Yeah, no news is good news.
What's on your mind?
So that was an amazing show, and just so hard to wrap your mind around all of these things because they're not easy. And I could go a million directions, but there was one thing, and I felt like you almost wanted to say this, but I love the fact that you're so respectful of your guests, even when I think you might disagree with them. And to me, this is the dilemma: is the truth on the internet, and who gets to be the gatekeeper. And if there are 20 conspiracy theories and 19 of them are just total bunk, but the 20th one is really important, and somehow we have the gatekeepers that wipe all those things out, is it worth it to listen to all the bunk for the one little bit of truth that's really going to be important to all of us? And how do we sift through all these things?
Yeah, that's the problem. But that right there in of itself, Mike, that right there, and first off, you have to be able to get all of the information. And if somebody is cutting you off from that, I'm not so sure if that's cool. Okay? And whether you disagree with it or not, but you have to allow everybody to have discernment. The problem is twofold. It's twofold. One, and I keep saying this over and over and over again. I don't care what the political system is. I don't care what the conspiracy is. I don't care what you are being fed. I don't care no matter what it is, don't go all in. Don't go all in. You can't do that. You can't. You can't, because if it turns out to be wrong and it turns out to be baseless, you're stuck. And you have to deprogram yourself. Don't go all in. You can't. You just can't do it. I can repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, but we all do it. I do it. I do it. I've gone all in on a few things where, after 20 years of being all in, 10 years of being all in, and I have to step back and say, hey, I was wrong. And it's difficult. It's difficult for me to, but I do it. Like I said earlier tonight.
You have a gift for taking your ego out of things, which is genius. And I would say most people probably can't do that. They're just going to paint themselves into a corner and defend that idea, till death, because they're just so invested in it.
That's right. And I see it. There are things that I have communication privately throughout the day with people that I've known for 35, 40 years, going back to high school and junior high. And I spend time talking them off of the cliff, throwing them softballs. I'm not throwing them fastballs. No, you can't do that. But yes, where I know these people. I'm talking about people that I know. I mean, not only classmates, but maybe even roommates. Where I know these people well, and all I can do is just throw softballs and say, man, just back up just a little bit. Get out of the deep end of the pool. Just get out of the deep end for a little bit, and observe from the outside. You can thank me for it later. It's tough. It's tough, and today it's obvious with everybody. Look, I'll say it. I'll say it straight. When Pizzagate was doing its thing, right? As crazy as that was, you've got a guy going into Comet Pizza with a gun, firing off rounds. Hold on a minute here. That's where, even for me, that's how serious people take it, and that's the danger. So what do we do now? Do we remove all of this stuff from the internet? I don't know. Do we teach discernment, and let people know that, and have classes in this? I don't know. I don't know what the answers are.
I have my sister-in-law is a tenured professor, and so we talk about education sometimes. And I am of the opinion that the first core class in any college should be a class in critical thinking, where there's, hot button issues, and you have to talk and defend both sides of the issue, just so you understand that the person who disagrees with you isn't necessarily crazy. Maybe they have some valid points, even if you disagree with them. So yeah, I think that is the most important thing, is teaching people to at least understand the other side. It doesn't mean they agree with it, but look at that person for a second and say, okay, what's defensible about what they're saying? And maybe then we can find a common ground, or at least not hate each other.
Now, I just got this, and let me, now this is This is the New York Times. This is 30 minutes old. It has just been posted. I mean, this is fresh, okay, everybody? I haven't vetted this on other news sites yet, but it is the New York Times, and it's exactly what we're talking about right here. YouTube has suspended President Trump's channel over concern about ongoing potential for violence. And in a tweet on YouTube's official account, the Google-owned video site said it has suspended Mr. Trump's account after one of his recent videos violated its policy banning content that spreads misinformation about election fraud. YouTube said it would not be able to upload new content, President Trump, to his channel, 2.8 million subscribers, for at least 7 days. YouTube has also said it is disabling comments on his video indefinitely. It was not immediately which video had triggered the suspension of his account. I am now looking at the official tweet. Yep, and here it is on Twitter. I am looking at it here. Wow. I mean, this is incredible. This is incredible. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, I don't know where all of this is going to end. You know, I said this at the beginning.
Nobody
of the
does.
show.
These are hard. These are hard topics. They're just anybody that has an easy answer, I don't think they're really grasping all the ramifications, all the you know, it comes up, like you said, in every part of our life. And I don't think there are easy solutions. Mostly because we're just humans and we're kind of messed up. So, you know, we're going to do the wrong thing a lot.
This kind of, and I was talking about this with Greg, and I really mean this. I am human just like everybody else. This stress, I mean, this is stress. I mean, just being projected out on everybody, being pummeled with this every minute of the day. It's just coming in, and right now everybody's at home, and so it's being fed into them, this kind of stuff all day long. This is stressful. This is incredible. I don't even know how to look at this. I am literally on the Twitter page right now. The tweet went out 1 hour ago. Of course, it is completely viral. I don't know what's trending and what's happening right now, but this is pretty big news. I said it earlier today. I mean it. There isn't, once you are on the bad side of tech, you can't outrun it. You can't outrun it.
No, this is Black Mirror. I made the joke to my brother. Hey, you've seen all the Black Mirrors. You know the
Yes.
Christmas episode, White Christmas?
Yes.
I made this joke to my brother that Trump is the guy in White Christmas. You know, he's walking out and nobody can see him. He's invisible.
There are certain assumptions that people make because of the verbiage and the terminology and the dogma that is in society, that the president of the United States is the president of the free world. The president of the United States is the most powerful person in the world, the president of the United States. And we have heard this over and over again since you're a kid. And here we are today with this stuff going down, and it's like the latest breaking news throughout the day. Like I said, Deutsche Bank earlier. Deutsche Bank, right? Pinterest doesn't care about the president of the United States and what that title holds. And once big tech has started flipping these switches, even the president of the United States doesn't have the power to turn around and flip that switch back on. You know, I don't know. I don't know what the message is. I don't know.
It's all crazy. It's all crazy, and it's hard to wrap your mind around it.
Well, how are you? I mean, like I said, I'm only human, but this stress, you know, and I keep talking about these headaches that I've gotten from COVID, and then there's the other part where my brain is forced into dealing with all of this emotional news. that is constantly being flooded in my direction. It's the same thing for everybody else, right? How are you coping with it?
Well, I'm like EJ. I don't know if you remember, I spoke with you a couple weeks ago, and I just got over the COVID myself. And I am ridiculously healthy as a rule. But I feel like, yeah, I'm stressed out, and I feel like the stress is the reason I got sick. I think my body's just worn down. So the short answer is I'm not coping very well. I mean, I hang out with my dogs a lot. That's my big coping mechanism, but that's about it.
Yeah, I don't know if Madeline just said, not me. I don't have cable TV. I watch what I want, listen to the music I enjoy. That's what I try to do. I unfortunately am a host of a radio program where I do have to pay attention to what's going on in the world, and I pick and choose what I read, but the rest of it is just flooding in. Right, and it's everywhere.
You can't escape it.
No,
you can't escape it. I don't have cable, and I don't watch TV anyway. But you just can't escape it. It's everywhere. So it's there's no hiding. It's just the world we live in.
Now, I want to ask you this. It's probably you're going to have one of the most valuable answers that you can give me and the audience. Is the closing down from big tech? Now it's YouTube, but it's Twitter, it's Facebook, and the other things shutting this off. But we didn't have this 50 years ago, 40 years ago. We didn't have it. The president still has the ability to go on television. The president still has the Oval Office. He has a press room that he can broadcast from. So is the social media side of closing him down, is it really that effective? Or does he still have the ability to have a voice like all presidents had before the internet era?
He does right now, but he's not going to be president very long. I'll be honest, I never heard of Parler before tonight. It's not really my thing, all the social media stuff. But as I was listening to the interview, it did occur to me that, there will be a market for somebody to, if it's not Parler, if there is a market for a specific kind of social media company, it's going to come into existence. And, the people that want to have a voice are going to have a voice because someone's going to make money off of them. So I don't anticipate any of this going away just because, Twitter and Facebook shut them down. Somebody else is going to open something up for them.
Yeah, I agree with that too as well. And I'm just shocked. I mean, this is taking on things to another level. It's this is the thing that Richard. Okay, hold on. This guest is an example of why I am trying to skip this week. This is a choice, but censorship is not. I listened to you to get a break from all of this stuff, right? And this is from Cameron. I totally get it. And just like this is the thing, and Richard Dolan said this last night on the air. It's gotten to the point where we were able to always do the dance and avoid politics in the UFO world. But today we can't. We can't ignore the conversation. Right now, it's not. It's just not the world that we are in. Right now, it's crazy. It is blowing my mind. I don't know.
It feels like we're in an episode of Black Mirror. Some kind of weird thing that just doesn't make sense, and everything feels very surreal.
I said this.
Nothing is.
Yeah, I said this yesterday to Rita, and then I said it on the air. And it's just this weird feeling. Maybe it's COVID dementia. I don't know. But I said, I feel like I'm in the video game Silent Hill. I mean, like physically, for real. I'm not saying like I'm in an episode, I'm saying this metaphorically. I'm saying I'm walking around feeling pretty weird. Like things have changed. Like I've crossed the street and I went from full color to black and white, right? From full color into sepia tone. And everything is just a little bit different. It's like a parallel world, an alternate universe. And I'm saying this like as a matter of fact. This is what the media has done. This is what social media has done. And there's no denying the fact, Mike, that we have all been locked down. We have all been forced into our homes for 12 months with nothing but bad news. And then you couple that with everything else that is going on, and you can't help but feel different. You can't.
So let me ask you, do you have, well, I'm going to say my opinion on this first, and I'm going to ask you, because I can't wrap my brain around this. I agree with everything you just said, and I'm trying to figure out what this means, or if there's some great plan, or if this is some great sociological experiment, or what. I can't wrap my mind around it, but it doesn't feel like it's an accident. It feels like something is happening, and I can't make any sense of it, and I don't even pretend to. I just keep my eyes open, and I'm trying to get a handle on it, but I just can't do it.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, like I always do, that we're going to get through it, right? We're going to come through it. The fog, the smoke is going to clear. We're going to come back through. It's going to be springtime and the hummingbirds and rainbows and we're going to get through this. The difficult part for me to put trust in is that the media, which has the biggest amount of culpability and responsibility in all of this, is going to ratchet down the temperature. And I don't know when that is going to happen. I have no idea. Rita just posted.
I think they're making good money. I think they're making good money off all the chaos. So I don't anticipate that happening anytime soon. I think this is good for ratings for them.
Well, I had said earlier this year, we're only in January 12th, but I had said that I am going to reserve all thoughts until January 21st. I just need to get to that point. I need to get to that point. How many days away are we now? Right. Today's the 12th.
Like that,
yeah, today's the 12th or 20th. That's 8 days. Tomorrow will be 7. So we're a week away, and then and somehow get to the 21st, and let's see where we are at. And then I'll comment on things. And it's not a political thing. I'm talking about the status of us. That's what I'm talking about. Not
yeah.
politics.
How do we function in the world? How do we function without going crazy?
And that's my concern. My concern is my family, this country, and the people of this country, and the people of the world. That's it. That's my concern. I could give a crap about politics. I could give a crap, but right now, that's the elephant in the room. And that trickles down into COVID and the pandemic and unemployment and the status of the hospitals and emergency services. And what about sports? And what about concerts? And what about the future? What about crowds? What about restaurants, theaters? I don't know the next time I'm going to see the inside of a theater and eat some popcorn and drink a frigging black cherry Coke Slurpee with my over-buttered popcorn. Whatever that butter-like substance is. And I double up on it. But I don't know when I'm going to see that again. I don't know. I've already run to the end of not only this show, but I've run to the end of Amazon Prime and Netflix. It's it. I've seen everything on those servers. There's nothing left. Mike, I got to go. All right?
Jimmy, can I throw something out real quick? Being that I just recovered and I heard something yesterday, I think. I signed up with the Red Cross today because they need plasma from COVID survivors. So anybody that is a COVID survivor, go and give them some blood and let them get some plasma.
I'll see you tomorrow night, Mike. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jimmy. Have a good night.
Great conversation. And with that, I am now going to get cut off the network here any second. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2021 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, right here, John Greenwald. Until then, I want everybody to be safe. Fade to Black.